Hi everyone, welcome to another radio lesson with me Deborah from Slation College Sunadab. So today what I'll be discussing is the content of court of paper CC4, and this is specially meant for the second semester students. So let's dive in firstly with the meaning of the term contempt. The word contempt had originated in the year 1393 from the Latin word contemptus, which means to scorn. It is the feeling with which a person regards anything considered as mean or worthless. Contempt is a pattern of attitudes and behavior, often towards an individual or group, but sometimes towards an ideology, which has the characteristics of disgust and anger. So, what is contempt of court? Contempt of court, which is often referred to simply as the contempt, is the offense of being disobedient or disrespectful towards a court of law and its officers in the form of behavior that opposes or defies the authority, justice and dignity of the court. Contempt is nothing but it is the lowering down of prestige of the court. So basically, the essence of respect towards the court is the objective behind the Contempt of Court Act. Contempt is defined under the Section 2 of the Contempt of Courts Act 1971. Moving on to the Contempt of Court Act, the Law Commission of India had submitted its report on the Contempt of Courts Act 1971. Here, contempt refers to the offense of showing disrespect to the dignity or authority of a court. The Act actually divides contempt into two types. One is criminal contempt and the other one is civil contempt. Now, civil contempt refers to the willful disobedience of an order or of any court. Yes, whereas criminal contempt includes any act or publication which A. scandalizes the court, like when the judge of a court is being criticized or he's been defamed, which may consist of publication of statements accusing him of being corrupt. Yes. B. prejudices any judicial proceedings, that is to cause any sort of interferences with the due course of any judicial proceeding, therefore which would amount to criminal contempt of court. And C. interferes with the administration of justice in any other manner. Now, scandalizing the court broadly refers to the statements or publication which have the effect of undermining public confidence in the judiciary. The report had examined whether the definition of contempt in the Act should be restricted to civil contempt, that is, willful disobedience of judgments of a court. The Commission had concluded that there was no requirement to amend the Act for the reasons stated below. 1. High number of contempt cases. The Commission had observed that there were a high number of civil and criminal contempt cases pending in various high courts and the Supreme Court. The Commission also had observed that the high number of cases justify the continuing relevance of the Act. It also stated that amending the definition of contempt may actually would reduce the overall impact of the law and would lessen the respect that people have for courts and their authority and functioning. Secondly, international comparisons. Now, in relation to the offense of scandalizing the court, the Commission noted that the United Kingdom had abolished the offense in its contempt clause. However, it noticed that there were two differences in circumstances of India and the United Kingdom which warranted a continuation of the offense in India. Yes, So first, India continues to have a high number of criminal contempt cases, while the last offense of scandalizing the court in the UK was in the year 1931. Second, the offense of scandalizing the court continues to be punishable in UK under other laws. The commission that abolishing the offense in India would leave a legislative gap. Thirdly, sources of contempt power. The commission had also observed that the superior courts derive their contempt powers from the Constitution. The Act only outlines the procedure in relation to investigation and punishment for contempt. Therefore, deletion of the offense from the Act will not impact the inherent constitutional powers of the superior courts to punish anyone for its contempt. Now, these powers will continue to remain independent in the 1971 Act. Fourthly is impact on subordinate courts. The Constitution allows superior courts to punish for their contempt. The Act additionally allows the High Court to punish for contempt and of subordinate courts. The Commission argued that if the definition of contempt is narrowed down, subordinate courts will suffer as there will be no remedy to address cases of their contempt. Fifthly is ambiguity. Now, the Commission observed that amending the definition of contempt will actually lead to ambiguity. This is because the superior courts will continue to exercise contempt powers under the Constitution. If there is no definition for the criminal contempt in the Act, superior courts may give multiple definitions and interpretations of their own to what constitutes contempt. Yes, so the Commission therefore suggested retaining the definition for the purpose of ensuring clarity. Sixthly is adequate safeguards. The Commission also noted that there are several safeguards built into the Act to protect its misuse. For instance, the Act contains provisions which lay down cases that do not amount to contempt and cases where contempt is not at all punishable. Now, these provisions further suggest that the courts will not prosecute all the cases of contempt. Okay. The Commission further noted that the Act had withstood judicial scrutiny and therefore there was no reason to attempt to amend or change it. Now, so what is the purpose and the object of the law of contempt? The purpose of the law of contempt is firstly to protect the machinery of justice and the interest of the public. Secondly, it should provide a mechanism in order to prevent any kind of interference in the course of justice. And thirdly, to maintain the authority of the law. But one should keep in mind that it is a weapon that must be used sparingly. Yes. And the object of the contempt proceedings is not actually to protect the judges personally from criticisms, but you have to keep in mind that the main object or the objective is to protect the public by preserving the authority of the court and the administration of justice from undue attack. However, judges cannot use it to wreak personal vengeance. So, in the case of contempt which is not committed in the face of the court, which may be described as constructive contempt and which depends upon the interference of an intention to obstruct the course of justice, guidelines for the exercise of the jurisdiction to commit for contempt have been laid down as follows. One is there should be economical use of the jurisdiction, which is desirable. Yes. Secondly, there should be harmonization between free criticism and the judiciary should be the goal. Thirdly, confusion between the personal protection of a libeled judge and the prevention of obstruction of public justice should actually be avoided. Yes. And fourthly, the press should be given free play within responsible limits, even when the focus of its critical attention is the court. Fifthly, judges should not be hypersensitive even when distortions and criticism overstep the limits. So if after taking all these into account, considerations, the court if finds contempt of court beyond condonable limits, then the strong arm of law must be used in the name of one, public interest, and another one, public justice. So with that being said, I would like to wrap up by saying thank you for listening, and if you think this is helpful, then please do share, like and subscribe Slation TV. Namaste.
This and other episodes of Radio EduPods, Radio for Learning, are available on Listen to My Radio app at 6 p.m. from Monday to Friday and at 6 a.m. from Tuesday to Saturday. All episodes are available on Salesian TV YouTube channel. Share, like and subscribe Salesian TV, the ultimate learning resource channel.